Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 562XP chainsaw. The complaint here is that the anti-vibe mount is broken and it doesn't run exactly right. Now this video isn't formatted exactly the same as the rest of my over the bench videos where I'm slamming a chainsaw down on the bench, but we are going to crack a beer, so we got that going for us. I know, right?
Bullshit detected. Take precautions.
So I got the screen froze here on the Husqvarna Common Service Tool and the error codes that are stored in the chainsaw. So that's, when there's a running complaint on an auto-tune saw, this is one of the first things I'll do. And we can see there's two codes, a code 13 and a code 16, and we'll get into what those mean. The code 13 has happened 255 times. The first time it happened was 1,206 starts ago, and it happened on the last start. 1,206 starts. Now, it would have been helpful if I would have told you how many starts this saw had total. It's got 150 run hours of time. I remember that part. But I would say that this 1,206, that's a good chunk of the saw's life, that it had a code 13 stored in it. Code 16 happened 8 times. And it looks like it was just for a run. It doesn't even look like it might be still going. So let's continue on here, and we'll take a look at what those codes mean. So the first one was a code 13, lean come down. The engine speed decreases slowly when the throttle is released. Could be the throttle or air throttle valve is not completely closed when idle. It could be incorrect cutting equipment used. That's mostly for a brush cutter or something, and I don't even know. We don't have any auto-tune brush cutters here yet. Could be a leakage in the engine, or it could be that the fuel contains more than 25% alcohol. I don't know. I've never seen that before. So let's take a look at what that code 16 is. Code 16, high idling speed or maximum fuel level for idling control is reached. Auto-tune has reached the maximum rich setting. Could be leakage in the engine, could be leakage in the fuel hose or the short purge hose. It could be a faulty carburetor pump diaphragm, or it could be high friction in the throttle valve, throttle shafts, excuse me. So we're going to pressure test this engine. I already pressure tested it, and it'll hold pressure. Now I'm vacuum testing it, and I can't get it to pull vacuum. I cannot get the needle on my gauge to move. So what I'm going to do is, anytime you can make pressure but you can't pull a vacuum, it's probably the crank seals. And this is how we're going to test that. We're going to put a little 2-cycle oil right over the seal, and when we try to pull a vacuum on it, if there's a leak, that oil is going to get sucked in. And you can see that there's no action here in this oil at all. It's just sitting there. So that's telling me that that crank seal is good, or there's a major vacuum leak somewhere else that is, this seal could be a little bit bad. I thought I had too much oil on there, so I'll wipe some away. There's still nothing going on. You can see the gauge is not pulling vacuum, and you can see that the seal isn't pulling any oil in. I'm just double checking the decomp valve there, make sure that it was actually closed, and it was. So we're gonna flip this saw over. We're gonna take a look at the other side. We're gonna have to remove the cutting equipment, the clutch, the oil pump, and once we've done that, then we can perform this same test on the other side of the saw. So through the magic of video editing, we've removed everything. Now we're trying to pull vacuum, and same result. All right. Next thing we'll do is put some oil on that seal and try it one more time and see what happens. And any oil will do, but you know, we got all kinds of 2-cycle oil laying around, so that's what we use. Alright, now this time pay attention to the oil that I just poured on there. You see it going away? Maybe we'll take a closer look at that. Put some more oil on there if you didn't catch it the first time. Just a dab will do. Alright, take a look at this oil. See how it's going away while I full vacuum on that crankcase? That means the seal's bad. Now, I can't wiggle the crankshaft. It's not like I can feel any play in there at all. So right away we're thinking, well, this is going to be an easy repair. Put a new crank seal in there. It's probably a $10 seal. No big deal, right? So we're going to pick the old seal out and try not to damage the bearing underneath. In this case, we're using an actual seal puller. I know there's 10 different ways to get these seals out of there, and everyone's got their own special way. This seems to work on this particular seal. So later in this video, you're going to see there's a clue that can be easily spotted. Just when a customer can walk in and slap the chainsaw on a counter, and there's a clue you can see to spot what's going to be this problem here. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So first thing you do, you look in there and it's like, well, wait a minute. Are all the balls in there? Looks like there's big spaces in between. Well, there's big spaces in between because the bearing cage is missing. On this bearing, that cage would be nylon, and it would keep those balls that are there, what is there, 8 of them? It would keep them evenly spaced. So the right amount of balls are in there. That's not the problem. The problem is that the nylon cage is gone. Well, where did it go, you're thinking? Well, I'm going to show you here in a second. Let's just take a closer look here. There's something in there, and I want to get it out and show you. We're going to grab a tweezers. Let's go. So what we got is part of that cage. Part of that nylon or plastic cage that was in the bearing. There's a little piece left there, and it's not melted, but it's just broken. So where's the rest of the cage? Well, right there in the spark arrestor screen. And I think what happens is when the cage breaks, it just works its way through the engine, ends up in a muffler, and melts there and gets caught in the screen. Well, a lot of you are thinking, well, that's bull. Why do they put a plastic cage in there just so it can break, and you have the expense of having to, you know, replace a bearing? If you would put a metal one in there, you wouldn't have had the problem. Well, I don't know what causes the cage to break, but metal ones break too. And when they break, everything else in the engine suffers. You end up wrecking other bearings or scoring a cylinder or something like that. The plastic ones just kind of disintegrate and go through the motor, and you can put a new bearing in there and be on your way. So there's an argument both ways, I guess. Metal for durability, although you take the chance on wrecking the motor, or plastic, maybe not as durable, but it doesn't wreck everything when it does finally go. So what caused the bearing to fail? I have no idea. I'm pretty sure that the failed cage is what caused the crank seal to leak, And I'm pretty sure that auto-tune had been compensating for this air leak for a long time, as you could see by the error code. Key, I guess, would be that an operator just needs to kind of, if you feel the saw is not running exactly the same as it normally does, you might need to bring it in and have it put on the common service tool to see if there's an error code stored in it or not. If you're just a homeowner running the thing once in a while, you're never going to notice a difference anyway. But a lot of times, I get regular tree guys that'll bring their saw in and say, it doesn't sound right, it doesn't feel right, it's not coming down to idle as fast as it normally would. And they bring it in and we find the problem, we fix it before there's any damage done. So bravo to those guys. For the rest of you homeowners that just bring in your saw and slap it on the bench and say, well, this piece of broke. So that's all I got for you on diagnosing a crank seal failure. Thanks for watching. Later.